it is my pleasure to introduce today's host, Stephanie Ann Roy, DTM extraordinaire. You may have noticed that Toastmasters International has enhanced pathways. Perhaps you have not. Perhaps this is new to you. Perhaps you have tried to see what the new Pathways is all about, and perhaps it was everything you wanted. Perhaps it was not. Stephanie is going to facilitate a conversation with or without pizza. I don't know if you can see my now cold pizza. And she is going to answer all questions and help us figure out how to make the most out of these enhancements. With that, it is my pleasure to pass control of today's awesome Pathways Pizza Party over to the very incredible Stephanie Ann Roy. Stephanie.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jackie. All right. We are here. We are excited. I'm doing the screen dance now that I've got my screen shared. And my pizza is all virtual, but it is there. All right. So we're gonna jump right in here. And I have two very quick questions for you that you guys can well, actually the first one you can answer with just a raise of a hands or like a thumbs up of the reaction button. Who's gone into Pathways and looked at the upgrades at all? Yes? Yeah? Cool. All right. Like 50-50. All right. No, not a problem. Not a problem. We're going to go through it together. So don't worry. And then the bigger question, give me 2 words, only 2 words in the chat to describe how you're feeling about this change. I want to get a temperature read on the room. So 2 words in the chat, how you're feeling about this Pathways upgrade. Whoa, there's a whole bunch of people popping in. Very curious. I like it, Alpana. So welcome. We just had a whole bunch of people pop in. We just started and we asked the question, who's looked at the new upgrades? But the big one is 2 words to describe it. Phil, that is perfect. Excited. Yikes. Yes. And then Pathway Slow. Yeah. Well, Kevin, Toastmasters is 100 years old. Give it a chance. No. I've used that joke a few too many times. Kind of confused. Yes, I'm with you, Jen. All right. Anybody else have 2 words? Eager and trusting. I like it, Lonnie. All right. Very good. All right. So if we get a few more, that would be awesome. But I'm feeling like there's a trend in a positive direction. And I definitely like the word curious. I think that is the most helpful word that we can have, and then confuzzled. Excited looks interesting. All right, now you guys are starting to break the rules. That's more than 2 words, but that's okay though. I'll allow it. All right, excited looks interesting. Good. Ready for the change. Awesome. All right, so we're gonna dive in here. So I need to get back on my screen. All right, so my goal today is to address the elephant in the room. I know there is some confusion. I don't know if anyone here is feeling frustrated. I have heard some frustration. That is okay. I want to address that elephant, but also, paint it in the best light possible so that we can move forwards with this as a positive change, because this is the program now. So this change has happened. It's here to stay. We can absolutely send our feedback to TI for future updates, but at the moment, this is what we got. So we're going to figure out how to make the best of it. And then I want to go through the agenda as well before I get to my one other point before we dive in. Today, we're going to talk about why, we're going to talk about what, we're going to talk about how this all works, and then we're going to revisit the why one more time just to make sure that we can all feel good about how to move forwards with this. And as we do this, just like the little building blocks in the picture, I am going to try to create kind of a build understanding step by step. So I strongly encourage questions in the chat. You can raise your hand. Just know that I may just take a record of the question and keep moving forwards because I'm going to be addressing it further down the road. And again, it's like there are a lot of questions that I'm sure you all have. And rather than skitter around between them, I want to kind of, build a progression. So we're going to trust the process, and I will make sure there's time for you all to ask questions in the end. All right, so let's look at the why. So I see a lot of faces on here that have been involved in club officer training over the years. And there are a few topics that I hear come up again and again and again in all of the different officer rooms. So, of course, Pathways is one of them. That's what we're here talking about today. Membership is a really big one. And then the other topic that I hear come up a lot is a mentor program. So helping more experienced Toastmasters, help new members, and then also how to bridge someone into that mentorship role, how to get a like intermediate Toastmaster to be able to help new members. And I think won't it be interesting to see something my mentor would say a lot, but I think that these new pathways upgrades are going to really help with those two things, the membership and the mentorship part. I think there's a lot of potential, and I see some gaps that are being filled. So first, we've got role requirements, so meeting role requirements that have been added to pathways. So to move from level to level, it gives you specific roles that you're supposed to take on. I know in my clubs, there are times where it can be a little challenging to fill the agenda. Show of hands, anyone struggle in their club to get people on the agenda before the meeting? Yeah, so this is going to be a little carrot and stick to encourage or prod people to take meeting roles, hopefully before 24 hours before the meeting. And then it also gives mentors a firmer path to follow with new members, because I've always felt that there was the education program over here for your prepared speaking and all the good stuff that Toastmasters has to offer. And then there were the meeting roles over here. And they both had great things to offer, but they felt very separate. They didn't speak to each other at all. And now I feel like there's a melding that's going to happen where now the meeting roles, being integrated into pathways, it just gives a new member a clearer picture of what do I do next. Like we're going to see there is a checklist for them to follow. So they know exactly for level 1 the 8 steps or however much it totals out to complete that level, and it includes meeting participation. So I think there's a lot of value to that. And then there's also the education series that has now been integrated into levels 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to go specifically into what those are in a few minutes. But these are basically your more experienced Toastmasters, again, levels 3, 4, and 5, so probably have been doing it for at least a year, are going to be encouraged/required to give educational presentations to the club. There are going to be presentations about club success, which if we want our clubs to grow, everybody needs to be a part of helping the club grow. And then there's going to be one of them is going to be about, teaching each other how to be better speakers. And then there's one on leadership as well. But that club success series project shows up in levels 3, levels 4, and levels 5. They're different presentations, but you're going to have more people now contributing to the growth of the club. And I think in Toastmasters, we have this unique thing where there is no teacher, there is no leader, no boss, no supervisor. We're not even a nonprofit with like a specific cause or clients that we're serving. It's just we're all serving each other. We're all here on the same level, and every once in a while, someone steps up to help. But I think what can happen is the people that raise their hand as officers suddenly get seen as the de facto leader that's supposed to be making the engine run. And I think the especially the Club Success series presentations are going to help every member take some ownership of moving the club forward. So it's a communal effort for mutual benefit. All right, so does that all sound good so far? Yeah, and I'm feeling a good vibe in this room, which I love. My mentor would also talk about a triplicate of choice, and as we dive into the details of this and explore what it means for our clubs, I think we have a triplicate of choice in front of us over how we're going to interact with this. As we said already, this is the way it is now. This is what we're doing. So we can either abdicate, just not do it if and it's going to be unfortunate if some members choose to do that, but that is one of the choices, is to just not. We could do it kicking and screaming, which is not ideal and not going to help our clubs grow. Or we can find the silver lining, figure out how we can make this work to benefit our clubs, and we can continue to be a part of mentoring the next generation of humans that really need, and I'm not just talking Toastmasters, I'm talking like, my kids that just went up to grandma so I could do this. How can we make sure that Toastmasters stays a positive force that can, encourage strong leaders, compassionate communicators in our world today? So tonight we're here to figure out how to make it work. I don't have all the answers because it's been out for 2 weeks. So I'm sure there's going to be some things that get left with a question mark after this meeting, but we'll come back after 3 months, 6 months, a year and figure out how to continue to make it work for us. So that's our why. So now let's get into the what. What are the changes? And I kind of addressed them already, but did people look at the Pathways guide that Toastmasters sent out? Did we kind of read through it? I think that explains it really well. Maybe someone can throw it in the chat if someone's available to. I can by the end. If we don't, I think Jackie can take care of that. But let's get into what has changed. 6 paths have been updated. The 6 paths that got updated last year to the new platform. Those are the 6 that have changed. So dynamic leadership, engaging humor, persuasive influence, motivational strategies, visionary communication, and presentation mastery. Those 6, the 6 that are available to new members, have these changes in them. The other 5, the legacy paths that did not get upgraded with the new platform next year: effective coaching, innovative planning, leadership development, strategic relationships, and team collaboration, do not have these changes. So if you were working on one of those paths, you're in luck. You don't have the additional stuff that you have to do because probably you were pretty far along in those paths since they were legacy paths, right? So those didn't get the upgrades. If you have the other 6, they did. I had one level 5 project left in motivational strategies, and now I have 3 level 5 projects left in motivational strategies. But that's okay. They're things that are going to benefit my club, so I'm all right with it. And then, all right. So, any questions with that? I think that's clear, but I want to make sure it's abundantly clear. Yes. All right. So the meeting role requirements. Like I said, it's just added roles that you're supposed to take on while you're working on that level. So here are all of them. I'm not going to read them all because you can do that and you can see them in your paths if you have those paths. But it's pretty straightforward. So level 1, they want you to be a table topic speaker. Definitely something a level 1 should be doing. They want you to be an evaluator, something a level 1 is already doing for the evaluation and feedback project. And then they also want you to take on one of those lower impact meeting roles like timer or counter. So they're things that complement what you're working on, and they also scale up. So at the highest level, you're being expected to step up and lead in your club on a regular basis. And I think that's a very appropriate thing for a level 5 to be asked to do. So this is probably all pretty straightforward. There are 3 little stipulations that oh yes, this graphic that just got shared in the chat, I love it. Jen, is that official? I just saw it on Facebook. I don't know if it's from Toastmasters. I don't think it is, but it's wonderful. I was going to share that too. But it does have the 3 little stipulations on it about this. So one of them is, you may have noticed, level 3 says introductory mentor. And what that means is someone who unofficially supports new members by answering questions and guiding them based on their own experience. So basically, an introductory mentor is someone who has not gone through the Pathways mentorship side quest that shows up after you complete level 2. So it's just anyone that helps guide a new member by answering some questions or, getting them rolling with their Pathways program. So that one's pretty straightforward. Just be a coach in your club. Well, coach has an official, not a coach with a capital C, small c. And then at level 4, it references a specialized role. That's just leaving space for the fact that some clubs have different roles in their meeting, like a word master or a quiz master or a Zoom master. So that's leaving space for that type of thing. And then the final other stipulation, which I feel like should happen anyways, it's been brought up as something that's tricky to track, but I think it should just happen, is the table topic speaker piece at level 1 says very specifically that there's supposed to be a table topic speaker before they give their icebreaker, which I think in most clubs probably happens because most clubs encourage their guests and their newer members to participate in table topics so that they're participating in the meeting. So I think this one's going to happen naturally, but that is a stipulation that comes up. So any other questions just about like how the breakdown works? Does all sound good? Pretty straightforward. Yeah, awesome. Cool. Whoop, did I hear a voice? Yeah.
This is Alpana here. So now that they have stipulated that the table topic speaker must be completed before the icebreaker speech, are they going to track the dates for different requirements in the pathways?
So we'll get into tracking a little bit further on, but I will tell you that there is, other than the member checking off in their own level 1 that they were a table topic speaker, there is no other place to check off, because all of the roles, we're going to look at where you can track your roles participation in Pathways in Basecamp, but there is no place to specifically track when you are a table topic speaker. So, and we'll get into that a little bit to the whole tracking thing, because I know that is one thing that has VPMs and Basecamp managers a little bit twitchy about this whole change. So we're going to talk about tracking. We'll get back to it. But the short answer is like, no, there's not really a specific place to track that currently.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions? Cool with that? Pretty straightforward. Cool. All right. So let's get into the educational series presentations that show up at different levels. So levels 1 and 2, nothing. They stay the same in terms of the number of projects. There's just the meeting roles that got added in. So where you start to see those educational session presentations is at levels 3, 4, and 5. Like I mentioned, there's a Club Success Series presentation at each level. Level 4s are now required to give us some kind of presentation about communication, speaking, and then level 5s are encouraged, or not encouraged, but required to talk about leadership excellence. And these are all like pre-packaged presentations. So there's a PDF that's not a script, but it's pretty much an outline of a speech that you make your own. And then there is also a canned presentation, like PowerPoint presentation that you can use. So this is all already put together. And with these, if you're comfortable with them, if you like them, go for it. If you have your own expertise, your own experience with the topics that are presented, 100% you should honor the purpose of the project. So if you're supposed to be talking about conflict resolution in the Leadership Excellence series, the presentation should be on conflict resolution, but it doesn't have to be exactly what they say you should talk about. You can make it your own. So I gave a speech earlier today, and I applied it to the values and leadership presentation from the Leadership Excellence series. And I didn't talk about the stuff that was in I had my own model that I was able to share from my own unique experience, and it was something that 100% spoke to the purpose of the project. But I made it my own because the last thing we want is 10 people giving the same presentation in our club. So just like, every intro to mentoring speech and every understand your communication style speech is different, these can be different as well. So that's the gist of like the what behind the education series. Jackie, I saw your hand for a second. Did you have something you wanted to add?
I actually had a clarifying question I don't know if you have the answer to. And before that, though, I wanted to point out that Mary put a comment or a question into chat, excuse me, and I wanted to give Mary a chance to ask her question directly.
Okay. I see that.
So,
So Mary, do you want me to just answer it or would you like to voice it? Can't see her. Oh, there she is. She's not on camera. So, oh, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so you can just answer it, but I just want to know is, because our club is small, we've done, done a lot of these roles 100 times. So how far back do I count? Is it only once you start that level, then you count from there?
So I'm going to give you two answers, and we're going to remember that the Toastmasters core value, one of them is integrity. I was going to bring this up later, but I'll bring it up now. So the rules in the outline that was sent out say that the roles should be completed while you're working on that level. I think for the length of time, I think it's going to time out okay, the way that it all kind of works out. But technically, you should be doing the roles at the same time you're working that level. So if I go backwards a bit, so basically, it doesn't matter how many times I've been Toastmaster and general evaluator in the past. Technically, when I hit complete on level 4, then that's when my timer starts on being Toastmaster twice, general evaluator twice, all of that. I will say that I'm not going to let that get in the way of me finishing my level 5. This change came up very quickly. I'm not going to prolong finishing my path because I've been Toastmaster and General Evaluator a ton of times. So I think it's, as we're transitioning into this, I think we need to do the best we can to play by the rules, but I also don't want to get discouraged by this, this new stipulation that's come in. So that was kind of a yes and answer. Is that clear? Do you have any questions? Any more questions, Mary?
I figured that was the answer. And now the other one I have is when it talks about evaluator, is that when you evaluate a speech, or is that a general evaluator for the
So evaluator means speech evaluator, is what they're referencing, that language. So evaluator is speech evaluator, general evaluator is general evaluator. And then they do specifically reference I know some clubs refer to it as like a technical evaluator with timer, counter, and grammarian. Those are their own separate things. So yes, in this language, evaluator specifically means speech evaluation. Cool. All right. And then Doug.
Yes. Just a point of
Mhm.
semantics. We are still allowed to work on 2 different levels at the same time, correct?
Yes, which is where that rule about like it must be completed while you're working on that level. I saw someone say it where they basically said the comment that was made was that whoever created this thinks that Pathways is taken very linearly, which is not how everyone does it. I have 5 active paths right now. I am not going to try to like perfectly track, and I am very, very active in my clubs, sometimes taking on 2, and unfortunately every once in a while 3 roles in a meeting. So I'm not going to nickel and dime myself and create some insane spreadsheet of like, which club was I what in and where are the, levels going, like which club is it going to and was I those roles in that club, or, I'm not going to get into all of that. So I think again, I think they took this in mind of like, all right, a brand new person comes into Toastmasters. They're trying to figure out how to make the most out of this experience, how to see the vision of where they can go. So we're going to give them a very specific step-by-step path towards achievement, right? That's who this was built for, was Joe, who's going to sign up tomorrow. This was not built for Stephanie with 2 clubs and 5 paths going at the same time. It's very confusing for Stephanie, but it's going to be great for Joe when he joins my club. Okay, and then Jackie.
Thank you. So yeah, first to echo what you're saying, the way that I see it is for stuff that's in progress, backfill as makes sense. Right? This is not supposed to make us bang our heads against the wall. This is supposed to provide a supportive structure to help give us more options while encouraging us to also fill roles. So do your best, don't go crazy, and don't lie, and it'll all be fine. And the question that I had that I don't know if we know this yet, or maybe I just missed it. 1 billion years ago, before Pathways rolled out, we had what was called we had the competent communicator and competent leadership manuals. In the competent leadership manuals, sometimes we were required to fill roles. When we did that, we were asked to get an evaluation on that, not a verbal evaluation, but a written evaluation. I was wondering, Stephanie, do you know for Pathways now, when we're filling roles as part of our paths, do you know if getting a written evaluation is part of that support, or is it just telling us to fill roles?
I have not seen anything that indicates that. Now, where we're at in this process, making it our own, right? We talked about why, we talked about what. So now, we didn't talk about how yet. Oh, don't look at that. So now I'm going to go into Basecamp and we're going to explore it together. So let's all kind of keep an eye out for that. I'm pretty sure no, Jackie, but we can keep an eye out for it. And then that will, yeah. All right. Yes, Mohan.
Before you go there, Phil asked another question.
Ooh.
Can you apply roles taken at other club meetings other than your home club? This is a very good question.
Yeah. That's where it's like what Jackie just said and what I was saying before, like, I'm not going to worry about it. I know that I am leading with integrity in both of my clubs in taking roles every single week, again, sometimes doubling up. So I'm not going to waste my time creating some elaborate spreadsheet to try to track the individual clubs and levels and all of that. So I don't know which club I'm going to apply a level to until I finish it, because I finish the level and then I look at my club's DCP and I say, which one needs it, you know? So I would, I don't even know if there's a stipulation in the way Toastmasters set this up that would, I don't even think they thought of that, like dual members. I have not seen any language that's like, if you're a part of 2 clubs, this is what you should do. It's not that specific. Again, this is designed with a linear track in mind, one person doing one pathway in one club. So for the rest of us, we lead with integrity. And if we're part of multiple clubs, we're probably doing that. If you're here tonight, you're probably one of those people. So just keep being active and awesome and don't worry about the boxes.
And just jumping in for a moment to emphasize that, if this is like every other Toastmasters initiative that I've seen in my 10 years in the organization, over time, they're going to come up with frequently asked questions and updates, and dare I say it, enhancements, where they will provide a little bit more guidance. I think that, Stephanie, you're absolutely right. They created this likely with new members in mind.
Yes. 100%. Yeah. And I think I've seen it a lot in my clubs. We have a new member join and they kind of flounder around for 3 or 4 months. And even with a mentor, they still feel a bit overwhelmed, not sure what that next step should be. And then because as the mentor, it's like, well, here are the options. Like, here's your triplicate of choice, you know, and they're not ready for that yet. They're just like, please tell me what to do next, because I don't know. I'm not an expert, you know, so this is providing them that linear path. So that's where I'm very interested to see it. It may create some headaches for those of us that are much farther down the path, but I think for new members, there's going to be, it's going to create clarity in the future. So let's focus on that for the new members, and then all of us can get together every once in a while and figure out how we're duct taping this together for ourselves. So Jen she was on top of it. She saw this too. I think it just came from, it doesn't have, like, no one took credit for it, but I saw it on Facebook. It was a great little chart, very small font, but a great little chart summary of everything. And then actually in my club, Philip Pape had come up with a matrix that had all of the required projects for the paths. And then our current club president, Kate Scarcella, has been trying to update it and merge it with all this other stuff. It's a lot of information, so we're trying to figure out how to make it manageable. But that was a resource that we can share with the district once we've got it locked in. And yeah, all right. So we are going to jump in here. So I'm going to assume, especially looking at the room and the names in here, you guys all know how to get into Basecamp, and you all know how to, like, click to get into your path. If I need to back up from that step, let me know. But I'm going to jump in from here at the overview. So this is one of the paths that I have. Boop, boop, boop. Is that better? Is that better there, Doug? Yeah, awesome.
That's better, thanks.
So this is one of the paths I have not done anything with yet. So it's completely fresh and clean. So you'll notice that at the start of every level now, there is an additional little checkbox that has, level 1, and then the purpose of that level 2, learning your style, level 3, increasing knowledge. This is where you're going to find the summary of everything you need to know and do for that level, right? And you get to the overview. The overview is always in the top upper left-hand corner of your screen when you're in Pathways. So if we go to level 1, which it's slow, so have it ready to go. It's gonna look a lot like the initial page of all your paths where it talks, all your path projects, where it talks about the purpose of level 1, which is all about mastering fundamentals. It starts you off with all of the resources that you need to be able to complete the things that are given to you. So it has an overview of club meetings that can be downloaded, or club meeting roles that can be downloaded by a member. It connects to the timer script and log, which is a really helpful tool that is hard for new members to find because it's always been buried somewhere in the TI website. So now it's right there for one of the first things that they see, an evaluation tool and the counter script there. And then it gives you all of your different projects. So this is just an overview of the other, projects that you see on the side. And then it goes into the required meeting roles. And we see here how it very specifically emphasizes being a table topics speaker before delivering your icebreaker speech. If someone misses this, it doesn't mean that now their path is defunct and they can never complete it. I mean, obviously, like, you just have them participate. If you got someone that comes in hot and gives their icebreaker first, whatever, in the end, this is for us, guys. This is for us to achieve our goals, to become better, as leaders, communicators, public speakers. This is an opportunity for us to continue to grow in our own personal development. So we don't want to get too caught up. We want to, with integrity, follow the setup as best we can, but not get too bogged down in it. Preeti.
Hi. So one question that I have is, because the resources we already, like, now that we would go in and we would read all the PDFs that have been given for the resources, and when it says required projects, we have already done icebreaker, we have already done writing a speech with a purpose, like all 4 of them, evaluation and feedback we've done, we have vocal variety and body language, we've incorporated all these things into our speeches. So do you think that we need to do it again with this, or
No.
is that no, right?
No. Your level, yeah, if your level's complete, your level is still complete. And I can actually, here, I'll go into this one. And yeah, there is kind of a a quirky little thing that's happening. So if I go into, let's see, motivational strategies, I'm almost done with. So it keeps bringing me back to the level 1 checklist because I haven't, and we didn't look at this quite yet, but I haven't like completed the requirements yet. But if I go to my overview, like my level 1 is still checked off and complete. So probably what I'm going to end up doing is going into that checklist and just hitting that button down the bottom and saying I did it, so it'll stop bringing me back to the checklist every time. Does that make sense? So since I've already completed this level, it's checked off. Level 2, all the way to 4 is already checked off.
But if you see the first one, this is grayed
Yeah,
out.
so it's just because it got dropped in after you'd already completed the level. So, and this is jumping ahead a little bit, but just like every other project, you do not actually need to engage with any of this stuff for it to successfully complete. I can check these boxes or not. I can put in reflection questions or not. That's up to my choice on my journey. But then I can just hit complete requirements and it's like, hey, did you really do it? And it's like, yeah, I really did it. So I confirm that it's done. And then after it takes 100 years to think, it should just be checked off. So it's a tedious little thing, but now when I go into this, I should have that little green check mark. Oh, and then Kevin, I just saw your comment. Yes. Yeah. A new person is most likely going to start with table topics. And then let's see. Yeah. Now everything's checked off. So now when I log back into this path, it's probably going to bring me here every time to level 2. So I'm just going to need to check that one off until I'm caught up to where I want to be. Yeah. So back to the first page that you see of this overview. You've got the overview of the roles and then your path forward. So it just gives a little bit of encouragement. And I love this tip. This is something that we should be telling our new members repeatedly. Our guests is every Toastmaster started exactly where they are. Trust the process, connect with club members, and enjoy this exciting part of growing your skills. Right. So that's what level 1 is all about. You're working on fundamentals. You're at the beginning. It's okay to be a white belt. It's okay to take a tumble and fall a couple of times. Every toddler's got to fall down a bunch before they learn to walk. So once you've looked over this, you've gotten what you need from it. You can either click next to get to that checklist page, or you can always find it on the left under checklist and completion. So you've got, and this is something that took me a hot second. I got lost at one point, but you've got all the requirements. Okay, or where it says requirements, maybe I shouldn't have gotten lost. But then if you're looking for the checklist for your own personal tracking, that's underneath checklist and completion. So if I hit next, it's going to bring me to that checklist that we got a sneak preview of a minute ago. And this is where I can go through and say, oh, I did table topics. I did that. I was an evaluator at the last meeting, but I haven't done any of these other things yet. So this allows me to track. My VPM cannot see this, or VPE can't see this. None of the Basecamp managers can see this. This is for me. And like we just saw, I don't have to actually check this off here to be able to complete it. So if you're an analog person, if you love your notebook, if you have your printout, you can do that and you don't have to check stuff off there to have it complete. Jackie.
Thanks. I think that this is going back to the EL manual. The CL manual. If there used to be a rule that you could, if you're filling a role, you could only get credit for one role per meeting. So, for example, if you were a speech evaluator and you were also a table topics speaker, now for like level 1 or level 2, those are both requirements for your level. Are you able to get credit, for both of them if you do both of them at the same meeting?
I have not seen anything that stipulates that.
Cool.
Again, I think this comes back to that whole core value of integrity. The purpose is to not check boxes as quickly as possible. The purpose is to be an active participant in your club. We all know that if you go to the gym and do 1,000 push-ups and 100 pull-ups and then leg press for the entire afternoon, you're just going to end up tired. You're not going to actually grow. You have to, spread it out over time. So, and I think that's the thing that we, if you get that eager beaver member that's really coming in hot and trying to check all the boxes super fast. First look at why they're doing that. Maybe that's the last, finishing a path is the last thing to their DTM and they have a goal. Then I'm not going to hold that member back from if they have a specific goal, if they've done the work to get there and this is the last thing and they're just kind of sprinting to the finish, then I'm going to honor and respect that. But in terms of rules as written, I have not seen anything that says specifically you can't check 2 boxes in the same meeting.
Thank you. And by the way, Doug's got a question in chat. He says not even the date. And I think that ties into the keeping the checklist.
Yes. So where you record the date that you do a roll is completely separate from this checklist, from what I've seen. So these are all reflection questions. Yeah. So that's in a totally different place. They don't really talk to each other. So Doug, can you specify your question or did I just kind of answer it by saying that they're in 2 separate places?
Well, here's the point. If you were a Toastmaster once in 3 months, you can't, and you say, and you need it in 2 different levels, in 2 different paths. I was Toastmaster. It was the same time, the same day, the same meeting. You're not even required to say what the date of the actual activity was to track. I've already used this once.
So that's again where this was definitely designed with a linear track in mind. I do this, then this, then this, then this, then this, then this, and then I go to level 2. So again, those of us that are like bouncing around and have level 5s checked off before we've done level 1s, I've done that. Because I want credit for my keynote. So for those of us that are doing that, it does make it a little trickier. I think in the end, so if you're type A and you love your notebook and you want to track, you love your spreadsheets and you want to track everything, then I would definitely say it is intended to be a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you're bouncing,
you were required to keep track of the one instance when you did success leadership, and the one instance you did better speaker, and the one instance you did success leadership excellence.
Yeah,
you were before with the books. You were required to keep track of that one time. And you had to do it again.
In here you've got, so level 3, I know this is hard to read, but level 3, 4, and then 5 twice, you're required to be Toastmaster. So that's 4 specific instances plus an optional one in level 2. For one path, you should be Toastmaster at least 4 separate times. So yes, if you're bouncing around a little bit, it's going to be tricky to follow that rule that Toastmasters said where you have to do it while you're working that level, but you should have 4 check boxes on being Toastmaster. So again, this is where the integrity comes in. So if we're one of my mentors said to his boss years and years and years ago was tell me the rules so that when I break them, it's on purpose. We want to understand what the rules are so that if we break them, it's with integrity, that, we know that we're working on level 5 at the same time as level 3, because that's when the opportunity presented itself and we've filled the right number of roles, the right number of times to check the box, but again, the new member is going to come in and take it one step at a time. We're just at a point where we're like crouching tiger, hidden dragon, leaping through trees and stuff. It's an old reference. Break the rules with integrity. Exactly. All right. Ooh, Jen, you're on top of things. I was going to bring that up too today. The free toast roll report. Yeah. All right. So we've got our checklist. And then like you already saw, Once you've done it all, you just hit complete my requirements and it checks off this first little box for you. So it'll actually be, this is like the last little thing that you should be checking for a level before you complete the whole level, like technically, even though it's the first thing on your overview checklist. But so any other questions within this part of base camp, looking at the levels and the requirements for the levels? Do we feel kind of okay for that? Able to poke around? Judy, counting the roll once and yeah, double dipping. We definitely don't want, that's not integrity. It's not double dipping. For clubs that meet twice a month for an hour each, I saw someone, yeah, so Phil, this is where, won't it be interesting to see? Something my mentor would also say. So yes, if you have a 1 hour, someone did the math. I saw this on the Facebook, like Toastmasters International group, and they were like, if you have 25 members, like TI wants, and you have a lunchtime meeting that meets 24 times throughout the course of the year, that means that there are this many slots, and you have this many people that are probably working on those levels, and just the fact that it may get highly competitive for the roles to fill those slots. But wouldn't we love to have that problem? So I think what TI looked at was so many clubs are struggling to get their agendas filled in advance, to get members to participate, to help the new member understand how to create that path forwards. I think they're solving that problem. And then I think when we get to the problem of, oh my gosh, we have so many members, they can't get enough slots, that's where, there some tweaks may come down the road. So like Greater Stanford might need some support to figure out how to do all of this. Last I checked, they had like 30 plus members in their club. So they might have some challenges, although I do think they meet for 2 hours. But they may have some challenges. But for most clubs, I don't think it's going to be a problem yet. But yeah, the math doesn't quite math if you really, if you have all 25 members super active. So, cool. All right.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions in this part of base camp? Whoop, Phil? Yeah?
No, I was, you just discussed the comment I put in the chat. That's all.
Okay. Did you have a
It
question or
was just a
anything?
comment, not a question. No, the math is, it is what it is. That's all. You do the best you can.
Yes. Yeah. And it is
Yeah.
something that I have seen come up. So again, at the end of this presentation, I'll ask this again, but as you guys start to run into challenges, roadblocks, questions, I'm very interested to hear them, so that, and Jackie too, so that we can proactively help clubs. I'm hoping that this is all going to move in be a positive change. But the more that we can get ahead of the challenges to make it easier for our members, then, the more likely it's going to be successful.
It become more daunting as you get toward the end of the year when people are trying to complete levels and you have fewer and fewer meetings in which to accomplish that. But if you plan correctly now, it shouldn't be that big a problem.
Yes, and that is where you can use the club success series presentations to teach your club about all of these things. There is actually Jackie is evaluating me tonight. There's one of them, I forget specifically what it's called. It's something about, like, I think it's Toastmasters education program, but it's basically educating your club about pathways. So I'm checking the box on that one tonight because I'm educating y'all on pathways. So if you're speaking, you should get credit for it. And for all of you that are division and area directors and district leaders, you can get credit outside of clubs as long as someone evaluates you. So if you're concerned about like checking boxes, especially for district leaders, think about the number of times that you speak outside of a club, and you'll find more opportunities.
Can I just throw in that works even outside of Toastmasters? If you are in a corporate club and you are giving a presentation at work, all you need is another Toastmaster to evaluate you and align it with the Pathways project. But I digress. Thank you, Stephanie.
Yes. Oh, and then Judy's thinking too. All right. So tracking club roles. Let's get into it. So I always forget this. You have to go back to home. You have to get like out of the path to get to where we want to go, which is this drop down. And if you go to your profile, this is where you're going to have the opportunity to, which I have not really done very much, but I obviously need to start doing. This is where you can record your meeting roles within Basecamp. And it's very straightforward. So let's see. I was a speech evaluator on the 30th when we had our last meeting, and then I save it and then it's there, and that's it. That's all you got to do. And then it just pops up as a little bubble, and eventually this box is going to get very, very big, but I can see all of the dates that I filled those roles. So that's where you can track for yourself as a Basecamp manager, or I believe just anyone in the club. If you go to my clubs and then I go and look at, ooh, let's see. Oh, you know what? I'm going to test our district director and see if he's been using Basecamp. Oh, so on your members profiles, oh no one's gonna start recording his club roles. You can see your other members and what they've recorded as well. So you can get into all of your different club members. I wonder if Kate's done it. She's someone that seems. Nope, she's pretty type A and she hasn't done it yet either. So this is where, as a Basecamp manager, as the VPE, you can get in and see what people have done if they're recording this way. So, this is something where the member has to take responsibility for using Basecamp the way it's intended. But if your club uses Free Toast Host, oh no, it was already logged in. I expected it to not be. It never is. So if your club uses Free Toast Host, then there is a spot in the agenda. There's the little, which one? Oh, this little person icon here, where you can bring up a report of the roles. Now, it has been a long time since I wasn't a club officer, so I don't know if anyone can confirm for me that any member can do this, or if maybe if you're just a member, if you can only do it for yourself.
Only for yourself.
Anyone can do it, Jen, or?
No, only for yourself. You can.
Okay.
You can only see. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, which is all you need for yourself. So if you're a club officer, you have the option to see what everyone's done. But if you're not, then you're just looking to see where you're at in terms of your roles, you select the name and then you can choose when you want it to start, obviously. And then you just run the report. It automatically goes to printing for whatever reason. But then I can see all of my different roles that I've taken on throughout the course of the year. And they show up however they show up in your agenda. This is pulling from your club's agenda. So, and then handy dandy little thing because I've done this before for whatever reason, is if you do that nice little Control F, like the find thing, and it's like, okay, how many times was I timer? I can just write in the word timer and then up here I can see, oh, it's 1. How many times was I speaker? 2 times, so you can kind of, Mickey Mouse the counting there so you don't have to go line by line to figure it out. General evaluator, 4 times already this year. Definitely checking that box. I'm done. So any questions about the Free Toast Host tracking? Hopefully that's helpful if your club uses it. And then if it uses something else, like Toastmos.org, I know is another one. Hopefully it has some way to track in there as well. If you have a record of the agendas and they're kept up to date based on what actually happens in the meeting, if you reconcile them, then you'll be able to look back and see what happens. All right, so any questions there on the tracking piece of it? Mary.
Yes, thank you. Would you go review the profile one more time, please?
Do what one more time?
The profile, so I can track it on my profile. I just want to make sure.
Oh, yes. So this is you're talking about within Basecamp, right?
Right.
Right. Yeah, so from the homepage, you can't do it when you're it's not going to show up if you're in a project or path. But you go to your name where your account information is in the upper right. And then your profile is the first option there. And then from there, you just scroll down and then you use the little pencil.
All right.
So,
I missed
that.
I missed that.
If people are going to start using their profiles, just so you know, like it says up here, this informational stuff ports over from your Toastmasters.org profile, so you cannot edit it in Basecamp. It comes from your Toastmasters.org profile. Jen?
Can you show again where in Basecamp a Basecamp manager can see other members' roles? Can you go
Yes.
back there?
Yeah, and I think this is actually something that I'm not sure if anyone can see your club members' profiles. So any member can go to that same spot in the upper right, and then go to My Clubs. And then from there, that's where you're going to see all the members of your club. So I'm a member of 2. So I've got Dynamically Speaking, Talk It Up Toastmasters. If I want to view everybody, I just click View All. It gives us all our members. And then I can go in and pick someone and say, I want to look at Matthew's profile. And then let's see, oh, he hasn't been recording them either. So that's where you see it. And then like paths in progress, I think anyone can see this, but only Basecamp managers can actually click on it to view path projects and see like the details. So not everyone can see the details. But yeah, all right. Record. Okay, so Jen said they were going to record table topics in File Manager, but using Basecamp is far better for being.
Actually, I take that back because table topic speaker is not one of the roles that is recorded in profile.
Nope.
So back to File Manager. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Or I mean, it doesn't show up all that often. So it's up to you. And we're gonna get into that in the conclusion here, which we have 4 minutes left. Discuss a key step missing, how a Basecamp manager accesses profiles to verify. Yeah, there's definitely a Norm. You guys all know Norm. I got a longer email from him talking about, some of the gaps in the tracking. So that's something that we're all going to need to kind of figure out over time. And speaking of time, I'm going to bounce back in here really quick. Just for some concluding thoughts, I can stay for a few more minutes. I just want to try to be respectful of everybody's time. So we went over the basics of the how. We can definitely do this again, or I can make like a quick little video tutorial for people if they need it. But I just want to end with a mantra that most of you have probably already heard me say before. Toastmasters should complement your life, not complicate it. The intent is of all of this from TI is to benefit your personal progress and your club. So figure out how to make it work for you and for your club in a way that it's going with integrity, going to help your members grow and succeed in their personal and professional goals, and also help your club grow and survive and thrive. And we referenced core values: integrity, respect, service, and excellence. Integrity doesn't mean give a speech you're not comfortable with. So as you're looking at those education series ones, like there was a part of one of them that I was like, that's not something I would want to talk about. Just from my experience, it's just, I think of it differently. So if I do that one, I'm going to make it my own. And if it's, so if you know you can do it better, then go ahead and do it better. But if it's a new topic, like if you have no experience, if you've never studied conflict resolution, then go ahead and use the canned presentation. If you're short on time, go ahead and use the canned presentation. I mean, the PowerPoints are not amazing. They break a lot of like 101 rules for how to give an engaging, create an engaging PowerPoint, but you can use them. They're pretty okay. But if you feel like you can do better, then go for it. I feel like there's one other important thing I wanted to say. Doug, did you have a question?
Yeah. To follow up directly on what you just said,
Mm-hmm.
I've had this question in mind all night. These modules that they are reintroducing to us, some of us know them from before when they were in book form. But where are they now?
Ooh, that's a good point. That's one thing I breezed over. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you my last bullet point. I found it that I wanted to make sure I said. When it comes to the tracking conversation that we had, I just want to point out that VPEs and base camp managers are not babysitters. One of the core values is integrity. I don't know what would compel someone to cheat in Toastmasters, but in the end, it's for them. They're not going to get some like a raise or magic $1 million because they finished a path. So, everyone is on this journey in their own way, and there's only so much that we can control from other people's choices. So if you're one of those that really likes to track, you can, if you find a way to do it that doesn't make you want to pull your hair out, feel free to do it for your club. But don't, like Jackie said, don't drive yourself crazy. And then again, good vibe in this room, but I do just want to reiterate from past Pathways conversations I've heard, number one thing that's like guaranteed to kill your club is negativity. So like we always talk about with evaluations and feedback, you praise in public and you critique in private. So if you have frustrations, challenges, bring them to TI, bring them to us at the district level, and we'll pass them on to TI. We'll help you try to come up with positive solutions. But in your club, if you want your club to grow, you want to find, that positive silver lining and add it in as much as you want, as you can. But I want to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly of what you come up with. So please, as you're going through this, as you're figuring things out with your club, area and division directors, as you're getting feedback, please pass it on so that we can continue to grow and to figure this all out. So really quick. So again, I can stay on. If people need to leave, that's totally fine. We're kind of like officially done, but really quick, because Jen brought up a good point, because a level 1 does not have, no, it wasn't Jen, it was Doug, does not have any of those better, any of that, the education stuff. That's all starting at level 3. And this is where I struggled to find it, but it is right there in the requirements part. Do not love the execution of this. This is what we have. So when you go into 3, 4, and 5, you're going to see a similar thing where the roles are laid out. It tells you, what the requirements are, and then it lists them all right here. So your successful club series, these are all your different options. And then that's it for level 3 is just one of these. So there's 11 different successful club series presentations. You see 4 at level 3, 4 at level 4, and 3 at level 5. Counting is hard. And then what happens when you click learn more is it downloads a like a zip file that has the PowerPoint and a PDF that takes you through it all. And I apologize, just the way I'm sharing, I have to stop and start again. But I do have one open. Actually, I think I have 2 open. So this one is, this one's the one on Pathways. So this is the packet, and it takes you through it. They're each about like 10-ish pages, but some of you may have seen this type of thing from club officer training type stuff, but it kind of gives you an overview of how to present. And then it goes into, it even talks about, tips for writing your introduction. And then it goes into the outline of the speech. So this is where it is kind of prepackaged. Another little tidbit with these, they're designed to be 10 to 15 minutes. Which does add, if you have an hour meeting, it adds another layer of complication to that. So this is where we're going to find out in practice, how these things go. But they are designed to be a little longer, but it takes you through, all the stuff that you can share with your club members to educate them to Pathways. It's a lot of information, so you may decide that you only want to do a chunk of it. I could probably spend 10 minutes talking about the value of the level progression and kind of going a little deeper on that. But it lays out everything, and then there's a presentation that goes with it. And then the evaluation guides are different. The evaluation forms are different. It's questions rather than that's the whole evaluation form. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. So the first word, one of the first words that showed up in chat was curiosity. I encourage you to approach this whole experiment with curiosity. And in the end, remember, it's about your members. It's about your members growing, learning, succeeding. It's about you growing and learning. So let it be fun. Don't get buried in the details. Break rules with integrity if you have to, but make it work for you and your club. So that's what I got for tonight, but we can definitely do this again if we need to.
Stephanie, thank you so much. That was amazing.
Excellent.
Very, very appreciated. Very, very helpful. I want to emphasize what Stephanie said. If you have any questions or feedback about the enhancements to Pathways, we support that, and we also encourage you to let Toastmasters International know the good, the perhaps challenging stuff that you run into also. You'll see in chat, there's the Toastmasters World Headquarters phone number and also their email address for the education program. They always want our feedback. If you have feedback, let them know. And meanwhile, Stephanie, Mohan, Liz, I, and the other district leaders, we are all here to help provide support.